Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about my O.W.L.S TBR for the Magical Readathon. Sorry for the glare on this lens. I need my windows open in order to film, so I'm just going to roll with it. If you have never heard of the Magical Readathon or participated in O.W.L.S, it's basically a month-long readathon hosted by G from Book Roast that she created so we can live in the magical world of Harry Potter and participate in the exams that they sit in the books and movies. So the way it works is that she's got this really amazing career guide. So you are going to look through it, pick the career that you want, read the classes that you're going to be sitting, the tests that you're going to be taking, match them up to the prompts, and then you have your TBR. So for this year, I chose librarian. I love reading. I would love to have worked in a library at some point in my life. I think it would just be a really relaxing, nice job. So that's what I picked for this year. It's also not a super easy career, but not one of the more difficult careers. So to be a librarian, I have 5 owls that I need to sit. Ancient Runes, Arrhythmia, Defense Against the Dark Arts, History of Magic, and Transfigurations. So for Ancient Runes, my prompt is the Heart Rune, which is to read a book with a heart on the cover or in the title. For that, I picked The Looking Glass Wars by Frank Bador. It's got a heart right here. This is a retelling of Alice in Wonderland where she is a princess of Wonderland who has a really strong power but doesn't want to be a princess. So she escapes and comes to the real world and meets Lewis Carroll and tells him all about her childhood growing up in Wonderland in the hopes that he can actually help her get back, but he basically makes her out to seem kind of crazy and turns her life into a fairy tale, into a child's tale. So she ends up living in the real world, growing up as an orphan before the Hatter comes and rescues her, and from then on it's their journey to get back to Wonderland to fight her Aunt Red to get her kingdom back. I read this in middle school. The author actually came to my school to sign books. I used to have a hardback copy. I don't know what happened to it, so I purchased this from Barnes & Noble. I am really excited to reread it. I've only ever read the first book. It is a trilogy, and I've never read the second and third, which I really want to, but I definitely need to reread this. I remember really liking it, so I'm hoping it's gonna go by super quick, maybe a 1 to 3 day read, and keep me on track for owls. For Arrhythmia, the prompt is magical qualities of number 2, which is balance/opposites. Read something outside of your favorite genre. My favorite genre is young adult fantasy, and this isn't too far of a stretch. I'm basically going to adult fantasy, technically the same genre, but in a different age group. I don't read any adult fantasy. I really don't stray very far from young adult fantasy or fiction in general. And I'm 24, I'm gonna be 25 this year, so it is something that I want to get into. So I picked Elantris by Brandon Sanderson. I have heard a lot of really great things about this series, about him as an author in general. I don't know too much about it. I know that the entire series is really huge, that there is a Cosmere along, which I did buy the book for that purpose. There are a bunch of YouTubers who are reading one book every month to month and a half. I was supposed to read this in March for that, but I had laparoscopy surgery. I had my appendix removed at the beginning of the month and have just been recovering since then and not really been in the biggest mood to pick up something like this. So I'm gonna read it for this month, hopefully catch up with that other read along, and just branch out into more adult books, but not romancy books. The prompt for Defense Against the Dark Arts is Grindylows, which is to read a book that's set at the sea or the coast. I chose Crown of Coral and Pearl by Mara Rutherford. It's kind of like The Selection by Kiera Cass, in that every girl dreams to be married to the prince. I don't know if there is a competition, but we do have a girl that's chosen, and she's a twin sister, and she is gravely injured and can't go to the palace, so they send her twin in her place who is kind of her polar opposite and doesn't really have any desire to be married to the prince. And it's their journey together, I'm guessing. That's really all that I know. It's set at the sea, you can see the waves. It's something that I bought a while ago, that I bought because of the cover and because I saw some pictures of it on Instagram. So I'm excited to see where it goes, I guess. I'm glad that it fits a prompt. Next I have History of Magic, and the prompt for that is witch hunts, to read a book that has witches or wizards in it. I definitely could have chosen a Harry Potter book for this, and I did choose a Harry Potter book, but for a different prompt. For this, I picked Serpent and Dove by Shelby Mahoreen. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. I first of all love this cover. I think it is so gorgeous. This is about a witch who ends up having to marry a witch hunter in her time. Witches are hunted down and killed, and this guy that she meets has lived his entire life by one principle: kill witches. I don't know how they end up having to marry. I don't know why, but this seems like it's going to be a hate to love romance, which is always my favorite because it's slow burning and just always so good. So that is what I'm most looking forward to, but she is a witch, so it does fit the prompt. My last owl to become a librarian is Transfigurations, and the prompt for that is Animagus Letter. Read a book or a series that includes shapeshifting. This is where I went with Harry Potter because I have had this book since September of last year. I bought it to read in September and didn't get around to it. I don't know why. I love Harry Potter, but it just hasn't been piquing my interest, so I am going to read Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. I bought the UK edition because I think these covers are stunning. They are so gorgeous. The colors and the foiling, I just love so much. I had the US editions. My aunt lent them to me, or I thought that she had given them to me, and a couple months ago she asked for them back, which was fine because I wanted to buy the UK versions anyways and felt really guilty about buying them because I already had the US editions. I just kind of prefer these. I like that they're much slimmer. Again, absolutely love these covers. There is Transfigurations in here. McGonagall transforms into a cat, or from a cat into a human, in like the very first chapter, so that's down. I love the Harry Potter series. I'm gonna read this and then watch the movie immediately afterwards, and I'm just hoping that in the world that we're living in right now, this is gonna bring a little bit more magic to me. I honestly think that this readathon could not have come at a better time. We are all at home, we all need things to do, and we all need something that's gonna take our minds off of what's going on and just transport us to somewhere that's a little bit better. So those are the prompts for my owls to become a librarian. However, G did include some extra classes that we could take for some extra special things. So one of those is to become an animagus. I think that would be so cool. I don't know what I would want to turn into. When I took the test on Pottermore, it said I was a black mamba, which is a snake. I'm a Slytherin, I'm repping my green today, but I don't know if that's what I would want to be. So hopefully by the end of my Animagus training, I will know. The prompts for that are Arrhythmia, Transfiguration, and Potions. I am already reading books for Arrhythmia and Transfigurations, so I only had to add one extra book, which was for Potions. The prompt for Potions is Shrinking Solution, to read a book under 150 pages. I had a really difficult time with this because normally I would pick a graphic novel for this, or like a comic, and normally I would just kind of wander around Barnes & Noble and grab something that piqued my interest. So I had to look on the recommendations page. I had to just really search through the graphic novel comic tab on Barnes & Noble, and one that I came up with was Giant Days Volume 1. It's about 3 girls who are just starting university and become really quick friends, and they're kind of trying to reinvent themselves from who they were in high school, but obviously they're having issues with boys, with personal experimentation, with school, and it just kind of piqued my interest a little bit. I don't know how it's gonna go. There are several comics in this series, so I'm hoping, fingers crossed, I like it and will read it more. I am just going to download it onto my iPad on iBooks and read it from there. If I really enjoy it, then when I buy the second book in a physical copy, I will also buy the first book. So that takes care of Animagus training. I also want to participate in Mer People Linguistics. I have tried to say that like 10 times and it just wasn't coming out right. For Mer-People Linguistics, I only have to sit for herbology, which is Mimbulus Mimbletonia, to read a book that starts with M. The book that I chose was The Monsters of Morley Manor. Also something I'm going to download on my iPad. I read this book when I was a kid on one of my trips to Texas to visit my dad and my grandparents, and I remember loving it. And I have tried to figure out what the title of it was for years and just could not, and it popped up again into my head last night, and I was like, man, I really, really want to know what that book was. And I spent like 2 hours just typing in random like sentences that I thought described the book, and it finally popped up, and I didn't have anything set for this prompt. And I rewatched G's announcement video, and she says that if the book starts with the or a or an, it doesn't count. It's whatever the next word is. So it's The Monsters of Morley Manor. Monster starts with M. So I'm going to be reading it. I'm looking forward to seeing if I enjoyed it as much as I did then. I really, really remember like loving it, and I think I've read it more than once. I just can't remember. But it was one of my favorite books from when I was a child. Well, when I was in like middle school, I would say. So I'm looking forward to reading it again. So those are all the books that I'm going to be attempting to read for my owls. I need to finish those first 5 in order to move on to Newt's in August or September. I can't remember. I think it's August. This is such a wonderful readathon that she's put together. I'm so glad that it has come around at this time. I'm really, really looking forward to it. Please let me know down below if you're participating, what your career is, what your prompts are you going for any extra classes? And I hope that you have a great time and that you're staying safe, you're staying inside, you're doing well, washing your hands, being as cleanly as you can. I know I touched my face probably. I really, really can't help it, but I'm washing my hands, sanitizing stuff. Wow, my neighbor really just now decided to start mowing his lawn. I'm sorry if you can hear that, but this is the end of the video. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.